Okay, so I just finished filming my yarn patterns out of books speech, and I hit the wrong button on my camera because I was gonna pause it and then go into talking about the next thing, and instead I hit the stop button. So I guess that was the world telling me I was done with that one. But that leads into the other portion of what I had said earlier, which was about the whole sending me links and stuff to things you find online. A lot of people ask where to find free patterns. I mean, there is freepatterns.com. There is actually a .com for that. There's like freecrochetpatterns.com, and then there's Red Heart. I know has a section for free patterns. I think Burnett does too, and then a few stores like Joann's and stuff. I'm not sure if Joann's necessarily has one, but stores similar to it. A few of those stores that have their own yarn selections. I don't know if Joann's has its own yarn, but Hobby Lobby has its own yarn brands. And stores that have their own yarn brands tend to have a few free patterns. Not very many, but a few. And freepatterns.com, once again, has everything. Like, if you're looking for a pattern, it has almost every pattern. So, once again, if you don't want to send all of the random info for the book, because in my last video I mentioned that there was like 4 things I need out of you for the book, send me a direct link to the pattern because that you want if you're using a free pattern, because if you don't and I have to type it in, I'm not gonna find it. That's another thing I learned from experience. I told a person before that if they wanted my like, it was a face-to-face teaching, like a not like in person, but it was a like video chat type deal where I was going to teach them, or I think it was Skype. I was going to Skype with them, and they told me the site to like they messaged me. We've been messaging for a couple of weeks. They messaged me a site that they use, which is freecrochetpatterns.com, and they did not send me a direct link to the pattern, but they told me what it was called. And when I got there and I looked at for what it was called, I couldn't find it because there were 4 things that were called by that name, but none of them matched the picture that she had sent me. She sent me a picture of a very pretty red, white, and green striped blanket, and it wasn't a normal stripes though. It was like the diagonal stripes. It was really weird. It was like diagonal stripes up to a point, up to like halfway, and then the stripes went diagonal the other way after that. And I don't know how to do that. Like, just off the top of my head, it looked like it was an all one work pattern, and I didn't know how to do it. And I asked her if she had a pattern, and she's like, yeah, I found it online. And she told me the site, and she told me what it was called, and I found 4 of them, and none of them were the stripes she was talking about. And when like right before the time we were supposed to Skype, like, I had to message her and I had to be like, okay, I've looked at the site and I've looked all the way through it, which is hard to do. Okay, I've typed in the name, I've looked through most of the site, I'd gone to a friend, asked a friend for help, I tried to do it just off the picture she had. I got pretty far with just the picture that she had sent me, but I would have liked the real pattern, and it was like the day before we were supposed to Skype, and I messaged her and I'm like, can you just get me the exact link? and I had to have her send me the exact link so I could see where the difference, what my issue was, in order to do it. So if you're gonna use a site like freepatterns.com, please send me the full link. Don't just go, well, it was on freepatterns.com. Like, click on the picture, make sure it's what you want me to teach, and then copy the link, paste it in the comments. Because any other way, and it's just going to be way too much. It's going to be way too much for me to try to figure out. It's just easier if you know what you're looking for, go to freepatterns.com, copy it, paste it in the thing, more. I also forgot to mention I do hats. So if you guys want a hat tutorial and somebody has a pattern for a hat, I will teach that. I'd prefer not to go off the rails with the hat one, like I did with the granny square, because hats are a less made object. Most people don't like working in rounds, they like working in rows. And the crochet blank, the granny square was kind of in a round, but you could see where the start and end of it is, unlike in a hat. When you work in a complete circle, it's hard to see where the start and end are. So that one's going to be something where I'm going to need you to send me an actual pattern. I can't just go off how I normally do it, because most of my hats come out with big, round, square-like tops. They're like oversized tops to what's supposed to be a beanie. So I need the actual pattern, because I need to know how loose I need to hold the yarn, and I need to know if I have to double it or not. And it's just easier to do if I have an actual pattern. I also knit, so if you guys want to send me any knitting patterns, I will teach casting on and casting off once I get what's currently on my green needles off them, or when I find my other yellow needle. But I do knit, and if you guys ask me for a knit pattern, I will go out and grab new hooks. Once again, I love to shop, so and anything to do with yarn, just go ahead and put it down. A nifty knit. This is nifty knitting. It's quick. It's easy. If you guys have the hook and either a round loom like this or a rectangular loom like this one is, then I can work with you. If you have an S loom, I'd have to buy it. So if you wanted something done on the S loom, you'll have to give me a little bit longer. There's a few other looms. I don't really know what they are. Really, any loom that isn't a... First off, this is my largest rectangle loom. So I don't remember what knitting kit thing I got this from. I might put it down in the description. But I have a broken end on this. The end's broken. So anything done in a round on this, I have to cut out these last stitches, these last two spots. So I can only go to there on this. I can go all the way the other way. And I have the smaller looms, which are pretty much the same rule. I can't go all the way around them because I broke them. With the only exception being the pink one, maybe? I don't know. There's one that has all but one peg on it. And the peg that's broken on it, I didn't break. The peg that is currently broken on it was broken by my cousin because she tripped and she fell on it. She like tripped over my fan in my bedroom, and I keep all of my knitting stuff in a pile instead of leaning it up against a wall like a smart person or shoving it away in a drawer like a smart person. I leave it in a pile next to my wall, and she tripped over my fan and the pile fell. She like hit the pile slightly and it fell, and she fell funny on it, and she broke off one single peg on it. And then if we're working with the round one, I don't have all the pegs for all of them. My big pink one currently is non-workable because it has pegs broken on it as well, because I'm accident prone and I accidentally stepped on it. This is one broken peg out of it, so this is the 24 peg loom, and I only have 23 pegs. But I made a sock on this loom using doubled up sock yarn, and it worked just fine. But I figure I should let you guys know that I am one peg short on a lot of my looms. But for tutorial purposes, I can usually make it work. If you guys wanted to learn how to make like a sock or something, once again, I would prefer not to use my loom for them, and I would prefer to have a pattern. But if you ask for socks, or like slipper socks, or not socks, they're slipper socks. If you ask for them, I will make them, and I will use the way I normally make them. And I use this loom normally, but I would probably show you guys it on a bigger scale with with my blue loom. With my blue round loom, which is maybe like this much bigger. From the edge of the green to this, it's about the size of it. I think that's all. Oh, yeah. And if you ask for a pattern and you come to watch the video, I suggest you have a pencil, either a colored pen or a colored pencil or a colored crayon, I don't really care. Something of color, something colored. This is my red colored pen. I also have a green colored pencil around here somewhere. And a normal pen, which I don't know where my normal pen is. But a normal pen as well. And I only suggest it because it's easier this way. For me at least. Alright, my colors in this. Yeah, I might as well just tell you now. When I'm working, I tend to write my colors in this, normal old pencil. It's about to break out of this one, so I'm gonna have to go change out my pencils, but just a normal pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil, it doesn't matter. Alright, now the colors I'm using in a chart. I use a chart and I write down the colors I'm using. And then I kind of graph out how the pattern will go. So I showed you guys a blue and white blanket, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, sorry, it's in one of my other videos. I did show it though. And I have, this is a really bad example of what I'm talking about because I didn't have my utensils at the time, but I made a chart like this as well. So after you write down what all of your colors are in a pencil, and I'd normally write them on, I didn't do it for this work. Okay. Well, I'd normally just take them and I'd write them down on a random sheet of paper, normally off in the margin, next to where the red line is. I'm trying to find a clean paper. Actually, let me just show this in the next video because I can't seem to find a clean piece of paper. So I'm just gonna go grab a different notebook and I'll upload the second part of this. Alright? Alright, see you guys.